Well guys, there's no way to sugarcoat this patch. There's a scoreboard in the game now, and there's a handful of bug fixes which are generally pretty minor, and some new cosmetics for McKay for Gold and Ultimate Edition owners, which honestly actually do look pretty good, and that's about it. Now, admittedly, the scoreboard does its job well. I dare to say that it's even one of the best scoreboards that we've had in a Battlefield game, aside from the fact that I can't activate it when the round ends, which is actually the one time that I'd absolutely want to check the scoreboard. That feature is coming in April's patch though. The scoreboard itself works the existing stats into the left side of the screen and provides a split team overview of players, showing their kills, deaths, assists, revives, and captures. It does miss some stuff like resupply and intel type activities or vehicle kills versus infantry kills, but I guess there's only so much space on the screen. So all things considered, it's a very solid scoreboard with 90% of the information that I'd like to see. Now, back in January, many of us thought that the March patch would actually kick off Season 1 with a wave of new content. Sadly, though, our current reality puts that content months away, and instead leaves 2042 limping along with a lower than ever player count and bots dominating the server population. And if you're one of those players who perhaps tried the game when it first launched, gave it up, and you're on the sidelines waiting for a big patch to re-inspire your interest for the game, well, 3.3 ain't it. It's certainly a needed addition to the game, but it comes with virtually no content aside from that McKay skin pack for Gold and Ultimate owners. The fact that the scoreboard doesn't activate during the end of the round screen is also a real head scratcher. Like the optics of DICE adding a single feature to the game that doesn't really work during one of the most important times that it should work is not great. Now don't get me wrong, I want DICE to fix this game even if it takes them a long time. I hope they continue on their mission. But I think I speak for just about everyone in saying that I'm a bit dumbfounded with the rate of progress. I have no doubt that there are reasons for things being slow at DICE, and the best case scenario that I can come up with is that all effort is being put into a soft relaunch of the game, making the patches leading up to that seeming lackluster as all the content is being saved for later. However, the less optimistic theories behind the slow content rollout is that the Frostbite engine is notoriously difficult to work with. There seems to be a lot of talent that left the studio in the past several years that's likely core talent needed to make changes quickly, and it's also possible that the amount of employees working on the game are not what DICE need to get things moving at a proper pace. And sadly, any and all of those reasons sound far more plausible than all hands on deck for a soft relaunch. And the carefully worded, slow rollout of information from DICE and blog posts does little to boost player confidence in the studio. And I certainly don't envy the studio's position either. If you say too much, the media can have a field day with any misstep, and if you say too little, well then interest in the game goes down. Now, I've said this before, but I'll say it again, I don't believe any game really is beyond saving. There's plenty of games that have been defibrillated back to life, and what happens in between getting massive updates for games isn't always that important either. No Man's Sky is probably the easiest and most recent example, with the developers going dark for a long time while they fixed the game. And over the course of several years of hard work and dedication, the developers added tons of new content, features, and gameplay loops for players to explore. In doing so, they completely changed the public perception of the game from a mismarketed lackluster experience to a game that delivered upon the original vision. Now, obviously, Battlefield 2042 is not a perfect comparison to No Man's Sky, and I know that a lot of people point out the big differences in how the game's launched, and especially the fact that 2042 isn't just about missing features, but that the fundamentals of the game also have big problems. Now, with regard to the information that has been shared by DICE for the plans moving forward, it all actually sounds like good and necessary changes for the game. So their current direction seems to be good, it's just going to be a long journey for them to get there. The upcoming April patch certainly sounds more interesting than today's patch. Aside from the scoreboard getting the end of round functionality in April, there's also going to be an entire weapon attachment overhaul and lots of vehicle weapon balance. Sadly though, just like 3.3's patch, I don't think April's patch is going to bring back any players who are waiting on the sideline. Honestly, it's probably going to take new content and reworked maps before players start coming back into the game to check it out. But if it's DICE's goal to balance this game before the new content comes, then I guess this is the next step. Well, arguably you could say that map reworks are the next step, but for whatever reason, it's taking DICE a long time to do map updates. There's an old promo video with some Battlefield developers talking about their game production, and Lars mentions how many of the French maps for Battlefield 1 were actually developed in about 3 months because they already had all the assets.
I think we did the maps for Battlefield 1. How's your French? Nivelle Nights and Prix de Tri.
Prix de Tri. At least in 2 years.
Those, I think, the team did in 2-3 months. Extremely talented team, but they had all kind of
They had the assets.
They had the assets, and basically take whatever shortcuts you want, and I think they delivered super cool maps.
Now granted, this was under totally ideal circumstances, but still, it was 3-month period for maps that ended up being pretty good. And with 2042, we're only talking about modifying already built maps to provide better cover and combat flow. But for some reason, it's going to take the developers 6 months or more before being able to show us the first map. It's really not adding up, especially considering that they were able to fix these skyscraper capture points on Breakthrough pretty quickly after the game launched. So again, whatever's happening behind the scenes is extremely unclear to me. I fear that they're so worried about getting the first season of content ready that they're not giving enough time to fix the current things in the game, which is why things are taking so long. Now, as if waiting for Battlefield 2042 to get some good reworks and more content wasn't tough enough, what makes it even less enjoyable is the fact that DICE's matchmaking system is designed to function with a healthy player base. Right now, 2042 has an extremely low player population, forcing me into matches that are at least half populated with bots most of the time. And I gotta say, I hate, and I mean I hate, fighting bots. I would never choose to backfill a server with bots just for the spectacle. I would much rather play a half-populated round of Breakthrough as long as I knew that the people I was engaging were actual players and not AI. Now for me, the problem could be solved easily by removing bots, but honestly, the much better and easier solution is just to give us a server browser for the base modes so that we can at least see what other people are playing and fill servers more regularly. It's what kept older Battlefield games alive for so long, and now that 2042 has less player population than even Battlefield 4 at times, it's nonsense to force players to use a matchmaking system for modes that you have no idea if anyone else is actually searching for them. So you spend all this time just trying to match into a server that's full. Like, don't give me options to play multiple game modes if I'm not going to be able to play multiple game modes. Just give me a browser so I can see what other people are playing and hop into those matches. I've asked for this before, but it seems like now more than ever it would be a necessary feature just to turn on. Allegedly, it's something that DICE can just turn on, so I think they should do it just as a band-aid fix for the extremely low player population until maybe the game can do a soft relaunch or revive itself. Anyway guys, I wish I had more good news regarding Battlefield 2042. As always, I will be keeping you in the loop about future updates and what DICE is working on, and of course, I will be covering the April patch as well. As always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.